Hi, folks. So I'm trying to figure out how to word this. There was really no need to do a weekly overview for this week for anybody who saw the full moon video. This week, the week of February sorry, my laptop is slow today. I have a feeling that there's some sort of automatic update going on in the background. So forgive me for that. Give me one sec. Well, this was a fun way to start this video. The week starting February the 10th, which is the week that we're in right now, we had the full moon in Leo earlier today, and really the only other astrological event that is occurring this week, as I mentioned in my full moon video, is the fact that Mercury goes into Pisces on the 14th. So rather than saying the same thing that I said in the full moon video on Sunday or Monday and say, apart from the full moon in Leo, the only other astrological event that is taking place this week of note is Mercury moving into Pisces, I figured maybe the smartest thing to do is just to do a video on Mercury moving into Pisces, which is, for those of you who've been following my channel and my videos, an important event and an important escalation on a number of different levels. Sorry, I'm trying to just get to a few notes here. Thank you, universe. Thank you, laptop. Nicely done. Even I am so tired of talking about the sign of Pisces that I'm just like, but for anybody for whom this video is new, very, very briefly, Neptune came into Pisces in 2012. And 3 or 4 years later, we had the South Node and Chiron sort of meeting up in Pisces along with Neptune. And I refer to this as sort of the crisis in Pisces, 2014-15, but especially 16-17, that we've been trying to stabilize since then. And Saturn's entry into Pisces in March 2023 has started this process. The stabilization can take 2 or 3 different shapes, concretizing and structuring Neptunian goals in Pisces, artistic goals, creative goals, philanthropic goals, spiritual goals, monastic goals. If in the Pisces part of the chart you've been dealing with some sort of fogginess, deception, gaslighting, then Saturn's presence there can also put some structure around this, setting boundaries, clarifying what is real versus what is sort of in the realm of fear or paranoia. Getting clear on what the nature of the deception might be so it doesn't color everything and so that you can tackle it and deal with it. And then the third part of it is that if you have had, and this I would imagine would be underlying everything, if you have had a hard time tackling matters related to the Pisces part of your chart, the house occupied by Pisces in your birth chart, and matters relating to that house, since 2012, escalating to 2014-15, but especially 16-17, and there's been a fogginess from your side, then Saturn is encouraging, I would say demanding, that matters related to the Pisces part of your chart are now dealt with in a responsible Saturnian manner. And this is what I mean by stabilizing the Pisces part of our chart. Forward movement, and this is especially relevant for people who've been watching my videos for the past couple of years, forward movement in the direction of our growth and our evolution, and the more exciting movement in the chart is symbolized by the houses occupied by Aries and Taurus. In Taurus, Jupiter conjuncted Uranus on April the 20th of 2024, and we're still dealing with the impact of those changes. Moving in the Taurus part of our chart, the house occupied by Taurus in our chart, in a way that is authentic and specific to us, our breadcrumbs, our appointments, things that are individual to us, our way of doing things, how we can be best self-expressed and authentic in the house occupied by Taurus in our chart. And the Aries part of the chart has been even more important given the fact that the North Node eclipses have been going over the Aries part of the chart, encouraging us to lean into that part of the chart for our growth and our evolution since March, April 23, all the way to the end of the first week of June of 2025. And indeed, one of the things that is so notable about the Venus and Mercury retrograde that we are entering in the Pisces and Aries parts of the chart is that they occur. Venus and Mercury go into Aries, and we are headed towards the last new moon solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th of this year, which will be felt for some week before, week after March 29th, for others week before and after May 29th, which is what takes us to the end of the first week of June. And it may be that if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, you are more in sync with feeling it the week before and after March 29th, and those who have Mercury direct may end up feeling it more the week before and after May 29th. Because when the eclipse happens, Mercury is going to be retrograde. But prior to going retrograde, Venus and Mercury, as they enter Aries, Venus is currently in Aries, Mercury is going to be entering Pisces on February the 14th, and will enter Aries, I think, on March the 3rd. I'll confirm that date later on, March the 3rd or March the 5th. And then both Venus and Mercury make it to about 10 degrees of Aries. And I thought this was really kind of fascinating as I was looking at this. Both those planets make it to 10 degrees of Aries, not on the same date. Venus goes retrograde from 10 degrees of Aries on March the 1st. Mercury goes retrograde from 10 degrees of Aries on March the 15th. And then, of course, both Venus and Mercury come back into Pisces, go direct in Pisces, Mercury on April the 7th, Venus on April the 15th, and then, of course, they move forward and they come into the Aries part of the chart. So, where we are at currently, and by currently I mean starting February the 14th, is we've got Venus already in Aries. A better way of putting this is we feel the forward movement and the possibilities of forward movement brewing. And especially as we head into March, sorry, all this ambient noise, it always kind of anyway. It's a trash truck, like I can hear what they're doing. The planets move into the Aries part of the chart. Venus is already there. We feel the end state, the forward movement, creating the opportunities, observing them currently, but we can't get past 10 degrees of Aries until both Venus and Mercury come back into Pisces to wrap up what they need to for now, so that by the time we get to the middle to the end of April, they more comfortably move into Aries. Mercury moves into Aries after clearing the retrograde. The middle of April, Venus moves into Aries at the end of April. And from there, those planets can comfortably act on the future state. The Pisces part of the chart gets reactivated again when Saturn and Neptune come back into Pisces between September and February, September 25 to February 26, to wrap up this stabilization. But where we are at now, and with Mercury entering Pisces, we are even more actively in the eye of, actually a better way of putting it, we are even now much more comprehensively in the eye of the activity of the first phase of completing the stabilization of the Pisces part of the chart, so that we can build in the Aries part of the chart and the Taurus part of our chart in the first 6 months of this year. And by the first 6 months of the year, I'm referring to the fact that the planets will move into Aries, move back into Pisces, but then move into Aries and from there move into Taurus as we look at April, May, June of this year. What it means to stabilize the Pisces part of your chart, it could be various things. It could be one big thing. As I said, for some people, it could be structuring, concretizing, moving forward on ambitions that are relevant in the Pisces part of the chart but have a Neptunian flavor. And I referred to some of this in the beginning of the video: the therapeutic, the healing, the artistic, the creative, the musical, the monastic, and for others, it may have to do with dealing with whether you're the one who's been playing cards close to your chest. Others have maybe dealing with some Neptunian loss, deceit, deception, and setting boundaries, but also getting clear on what is real and what is fantasy in those kinds of scenarios. Underpinning everything is a getting off of what I'll call the foggy horse, kind of our own inability with Neptune's presence in the Pisces part of the chart to really concretely handle and deal with and prioritize the things that have gone awry in the Pisces part of the chart. And Saturn's presence there, and the astrology of 2025, and the personal planets now very much with Mercury moving into Pisces for the first 3 weeks of this, now we get into the heart of some of the dates. Mercury comes into Pisces February the 14th, and then clears Pisces on March the 3rd, and goes retrograde on March the 15th in Aries at 10 degrees of Aries. Mercury is moving pretty quickly. The Sun comes into Pisces on the 18th of February, and we have a new moon in Pisces at 4:44 p.m. Pacific time, which I thought was kind of fun. On February the 27th, we have the new moon in Pisces. And that new moon in Pisces, I don't know why 10 degrees is at 10 degrees of Pisces. Now, maybe I'm trying to get a little bit too look for synchronicities that may not be there. But the bottom line is Venus came into Pisces on January the 3rd. And Venus moved out of Pisces and into Aries recently on February the 4th. The personal planets, as they go through Pisces, when they are direct, will at least conjunct Saturn, the North Node, and Neptune. The North Node and Neptune are getting ready to conjunct, in my opinion. If you use the true node, that conjunction has already happened early in February. For me, that conjunction is happening around February the 22nd. But the personal planets, Venus, soon Mercury, the Sun, will be moving to conjunct. Venus has already done this once. Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node. Mercury will be conjuncting Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node, and clear into Aries. And when they are retrograde, interestingly, Venus will conjunct Neptune, the North Node, and Venus will come back to conjunct Saturn twice. The conjunction with Saturn is really important for Venus with this retrograde. Mercury, when he's retrograde and comes into Pisces, conjuncts the North Node in Pisces just before he goes direct. So he's going to conjunct the North Node twice, and both times in Pisces. Venus is conjuncting Saturn 3 times. The North Node 3 times. Neptune twice in Pisces, once in Aries when she's direct. Now, before I continue to get too nerdy on this, as I've mentioned to you before, when Venus moves ahead, this far ahead of the Sun and Mercury, when she goes over the Pisces part of the chart, as she did in January, she is doing 2 things. She is asking how we can bring the Pisces part of the chart into alignment with what we value and where we are trying to go. And she can try to create opportunities for a certain amount of relationship building, harmony. Now, Venus conjuncting Saturn was an important conjunction that happened in the middle of January, around January the 18th. And I did 2 or 3 videos just around that. So if you just scroll down my list of videos, you'll see videos referring to that. Such an important conjunction with what we're going to go through for the rest of February, but especially in March and April. Discipline, responsibility towards our resources, our income, our money, and our relationships. And what is creating leaks, or how we can stabilize them, how we can structure them, how we can grow them. Responsibility towards resources and relationships. Our values and what we value. Stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart. It's at the heart of what is going on now between where we're at today, Mercury getting ready to enter Pisces, and where we will end up by the end of April. It's not as if we won't feel the new brewing during this time. And in fact, by the time we get to the 3rd week of March, the sun will enter Aries and the new moon solar eclipse in Aries will happen. It's just kind of going to be fascinating that will occur by the end of March. And we'll have, as we always do, the month of Aries going over much of April. But communication and the capitalizing on opportunities and alignment are not going to happen till April. Even till May, because Venus comes back into Aries direct at the end of April. As I've said, whatever work we're doing between now and the end of April, we're really looking to that new moon in Taurus at the end of April to be our all clear to move forward. But the opportunity we currently have is to make sure we're availing of anything that is showing up that could have forward potential. But most of our energy is in, repeat after me, stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart. Venus moving through Pisces in January. How can we bring this chart into alignment with what we value? How can we bring our relationships and resources into alignment? And here are some opportunities to be able to do that. Bridge building, harmony, communications. Opportunity for communications and harmony. But then Venus, at the beginning of February 4th, went into Aries. Fine. Where she's going to go up to 10 degrees of Aries before retrograding on March the 1st, going, we're not yet ready to solidify what the sign of Aries and the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, the last of 3 new moon solar eclipses in Aries of the past since March, April 2023, has to offer yet. We've got to go back and finish cleaning up the Pisces part of the chart, whatever we can, in the first 4 months of this year. And lay the groundwork for Saturn and Neptune coming back into Pisces between September 25 and February 26. And the second thing that Venus does as she goes over part of the chart is create opportunity for alignment and conversations. Financial opportunities, relationship opportunities. The challenge with Venus moving so far ahead is that we don't have the power of Mercury and the Sun and the new moon when Venus was doing and conducting these activities, some of which were tested because of the conjunction with Saturn. And the conjunction with Saturn happened the week before and after January the 13th, which had an important, and the Cancer full moon, an important resonance with the Virgo full moon lunar eclipse on March the 13th of release. So it was the second and third week of January were a complicated, challenging, eclipsy time. Certainly for us here in Los Angeles with the fires, etc. Now with Mercury's entering into Pisces, things move into the realm of communications. And the opportunities for alignment, for stabilization, take on a much more active yang role. With Mercury, mercurial activities will happen in two ways or in two realms. One, in our minds as we concretize our own communication activities, plans, drafting emails in our head, drafting conversations. What conversation can we have? With whom? Where? When? Sorry, I had to pause the video for a second. It's so great that the iPhone now allows you to do that. And now I'm trying to remember exactly where I was when I did that. Yes, here we go. Two realms in which Mercury functions. Our own mental processing, our own things happening more internally as we try to make sense of things, as we, as I said, draft conversations, draft emails, plan, how am I going to tackle this? A lot of it is in the communication realm. What transactions, what communications do I send out? And of course, the second realm is the actual activity of being in communication over the phone, via email, via text, and using communication and processing to move towards, to capitalize on Venus's transit during January, and to actually use communication to take the steps that we need to take in order to move forward with stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart. And what needs to be done to do that is going to be specific to each of us as we look at the Pisces part of the chart. With Mercury, the first sweep of this activity happens between February the 14th and March the 2nd or 3rd. And then the second sweep, of course, happens when Mercury retrogrades back into Pisces on March the 30th, goes direct in Pisces on April the 7th, and then leaves Pisces into Aries on April the 16th. So the second sweep happens, Mercury into Pisces from March the 30th to April the 16th. And then with the sun entering Pisces on the 18th, and then the new moon in Pisces on the 27th, really during March, we are active. You know, with the new moon, a month of Pisces is set up that is all about all sorts of action and activities in the Pisces part of the chart to help bring the Pisces part of the chart into alignment. And what is encoded into the new moon, by the time the new moon happens on February the 27th, Mercury will be conjunct Neptune and the North Node. So encoded, even though Mercury is going to leave Pisces into Aries on March the 3rd, encoded into that new moon, that month of Pisces, is Mercury conjuncting Neptune and the North Node. So we're heading into, and always remember that the Mercury retrograde is fundamentally about, we keep moving forward to the best of our understanding and our knowledge and our ability, all the way to about March the 10th, 11th, 12th. And then when Mercury's stationary and goes retrograde, March 15th to April 7th, we prepare for Mercury to inform us about what is real and not real with regard to where, which baskets we've put our eggs in. Because it's normal when planets are moving forward for there to be multiple options and multiple ways of doing things and multiple possible futures that we're looking at based on the information we're getting. And the biggest meaning of Mercury retrograde that I find is for us to get real on whatever activities we've been pursuing for the past 3 months or so, because Mercury, when he's retrograde, reveals to us facts about what it is that we are pursuing, involved in, invested in, so that we can then go back to the drawing board and realize what actually has legs, what has served its purpose, and how we should actually move forward in a way that is more grounded and takes into account what prior to the Mercury retrograde was in our blind spot, but now, thanks to Mercury going retrograde, is available to us as data points that we can use to continue to move forward. So, with Mercury going into Pisces, we get to move into the realm of communication and processing, cognition, communication, transactions. Maybe, depending on the house occupied by Pisces in your birth chart, travel, local travel, maybe not massively long distance, but travel, interactions, communications, transactions. This idea of building on Venus's transit through Pisces in January and now translating it into communication. Forward-moving communication in this first phase between February the 14th and March the 3rd. Maybe even quick, actively taking care of things. And then dealing with the consequences of whatever actions are being taken from a communication perspective over the next 3 weeks. When Mercury comes back into Pisces between March the 30th to April the 16th. And Mercury will, when he is direct, between the 14th all the way to March the 3rd, you guessed it, conjunct Saturn, the North Node, and Neptune. Mercury is going to get ready to conjunct Saturn as early as February the 25th, and we will, of course, be talking about that in future weekly overviews. And then on March the 1st, Mercury will conjunct the North Node, and March the 2nd, Mercury will conjunct Neptune, and on the 3rd, he will move into Aries for now. The other thing that Mercury does that I find really fascinating is that as he is moving direct on February the 23rd, he trines a stationary Mars in Cancer. Remember that Mars in Cancer and Mars is retrograde is very supportive from the Cancer part of the chart to stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart, because Mars, during his retrograde, will trine Neptune and the North Node and Saturn, and most relevantly for us, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces 3 times. But as the personal planets go through Pisces, they also will trine Mars. What is intriguing to me is that the planet of communication and cognition in Pisces, just as Mars is getting ready to go direct, which for the vast majority of us who have Mars direct in our birth chart is going to be lovely. We will get access to our energy once Mars goes direct on February the 23rd, 24th, and as Mars starts to move forward as we head into March. But it's very intriguing to me that Mercury through Pisces, as Mars is actively trying to support our stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart all the way from now to the end of April, that on the day that he is stationary and is getting ready to go direct and saying, all right, let's move forward, let's do this, one final push, there's a kind of a harmonious handoff or harmonious communication from Mercury and Pisces. What activities is Mars doing in the sign of Cancer to support stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart? What happens as Mercury moves forward, conjuncts with Saturn? gets ready to conjunct with Saturn on the 25th, just before Mercury conjuncts with Saturn. On the 23rd, he trines Mars, who is getting ready to go direct in Cancer. Now, as I said, Mercury moves into Aries, will be in Aries with Venus, so it's possible that in March we get some concrete information related to whatever future state is brewing in the Aries part of the chart that we continue to develop once the sun moves into Aries and we get the new moon solar eclipse in Aries and we move into April, but especially May and June. Where with the personal planets direct, the signs of Aries and Taurus will receive a lot more forward-looking attention. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I want to mention now, because the only other thing I want to say is that after Mercury's entry into Pisces, this idea of stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart through February, but especially March and April, there are no breaks. And what I mean by that is, once Venus left Pisces for Aries on February the 4th, till February the 14th, we had a bit of a, and if you're watching the Pisces part of the chart, I'm telling you, I'm sure you can feel that somewhere, some of the intensity that we felt in the Pisces part of the chart, it's like someone took their foot off the pedal. And the foot comes back on the pedal on February the 14th and doesn't leave it till the end of April. Because even though Mercury will clear Pisces for the first time on March the 3rd, the sun will be in Pisces and the new moon in Pisces will be active. And just as the new moon is about to occur in Aries, 2 days before that, Venus will be back into Pisces. And then Mercury comes back into Pisces on the 30th. Mercury goes out of Pisces on the 16th of April, and Venus goes out of Pisces into Aries only on the 30th of April. So between February the 14th and the 30th of April, there's a certain amount of pressure and focus on the Pisces part of the chart, and the opportunity with Mercury through March the 3rd is to use communications, cognition, put those communication into action to the best of our ability to proactively stabilize the Pisces part of the chart so that we have to deal with less challenging consequences. In April, when Venus and Mercury are back in retrograde, there will be a certain amount of tying up that we have to do then. And in fact, a lot of the tying up will occur once Mercury is direct between April the 7th and the 16th, when he leaves Pisces for Aries, and when Venus is direct between the middle of April to the end of April. So it's game on now. And, you know, in my case, it's so interesting. With the full moon in Leo that we had today, earlier today, I talked about it being a kind of a roar, but especially a feeling like we're in a kind of a crossroads. And I have to say, I could see that and I can definitely sense an urgency with certain external things happening with regard to using communications, in my case, using technology to take action to stabilize the Pisces. It's like, it's very, very clear to me. Mercury coming. This is the interesting thing. You can plan to do things. I always feel like don't postpone urgent things. just because you don't feel like you have the planetary support. Oh, I know that this is due now, or I need to take care of this 5 minutes ago, but I'm going to wait till Mercury's in Pisces to take care of it. I just think, I'm like, don't let the astrology run your life in that way. A stitch in time saves nine. If you're able to get something done that is urgent, do it. Deal with it. Finish it. What is more intriguing and amusing to me is that very often I find that I can have the best of intentions, but the actual opening to go ahead and take care of something occurs as a planet is moving into the... It's just like, oh, of course now I'm going to have the time in the window to do this, and Mercury's getting ready to enter Pisces. How, whatever it is that I'm planning to do over the next 3 to 5 days is amusingly Mercury related and related to matters related to the Pisces part of the chart. So I'm mentioning that to see if something like that comes up for you as well. One of the things I'm intrigued to tell you about, even though it's not really connected to this, is, let me see if I can find it. Give me one sec. There's something... Thanks for your patience. As we head towards March the 11th, by that time, my friends, Mercury and Venus are in Aries. And Venus is retrograde, but Mercury is still direct, because Mercury does not go retrograde till the 15th. And Venus is moving pretty slowly. Both those planets are still hovering around that 10-degree mark, 8 to 10 degrees of Aries, and they conjunct in Aries on March the 11th. And I say that not because it has a bearing on everything that we're talking about the Pisces part of the chart, but I feel like with Venus currently in Aries and with Mercury in Pisces, absolutely very much in Pisces, and you can't mess with Mercury conjuncting Saturn and then getting ready to conjunct with, we're going to feel Mercury in Pisces and the sun coming into Pisces 4 days later, and that new moon, and the sun himself is going to conjunct Saturn in the North Node in Neptune. No question, increasingly, February 14th onwards as we head into March, that the Pisces part of the chart is the priority. But as I've said to you, as Venus and then Mercury move into Aries, and they are conscious of, and they're starting to create this, where we are headed to, while we're trying to wrap up legacy issues, while we are trying to wrap up and stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, is primarily to remove those energy leaks so that we can really focus on building in the Aries and the Taurus parts of our chart. After the March 29th eclipse, after the middle of April when Mercury comes into Aries, after the end of April when Venus comes into Aries and we have the Taurus new moon. By that time, the sun is moving ahead of Mercury and Venus. And as we head towards that Mercury-Venus conjunction on the 11th, some sort of communication may come up, even though we're primarily, our focus is on stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart during March. As we head to through the first 10 days of March, it makes me wonder if some sort of opportunity, something shows up that, while it may not be, especially for those of us, while it may not be definite or concretized, we become aware of some sort of opportunity or some sort of communication related to the forward state in Aries that we're trying to get to. Remember, I said at the beginning of this video, the forward state, the exciting energy, is in the Aries and Taurus part of the chart, but in order to get to it, we've got to take care of legacy issues, activities in the Pisces part, and this is the time to do it. And as we're doing it, even though Venus and Mercury will be in Aries and they're not going to be able to move past 10 degrees of it, they do conjunct. Venus retrograde conjuncts a practically stationary Mercury on the 11th of March, which makes me wonder if something comes up that gives us a sense of something related to the future state that we can pursue or that will grow. What is at stake? What is the direction we're headed towards? An opportunity or opportunities. That we get to be more in movement on as critical items in the Pisces part of the chart has stabilized and the personal planets clear Pisces. Venus goes direct, Mercury goes direct and start to move into Aries. And they both move towards clearing their shadow degrees in May. Is when whatever it is that is announcing its presence in the first week of March can start to see some traction at that point in time. I don't know why. I just wanted to mention that, even though it has nothing to do with Mercury and Pisces. Okay, to summarize, Venus was in Pisces in January, asking us to consider how we will need to bring the Pisces part of the chart into alignment and providing us with opportunities, relationships. Depending on the Pisces part of the chart, this could be job opportunities you hear of, relationship opportunities and things opening up with people where there may have been discord previously. All of a sudden, the drawbridge is lowered, so that even if the outcome ultimately is not a completely harmonious one, at least there's an opportunity to be in conversation to help stabilize matters. That kind of stuff. And now Mercury comes in on the 14th of February for 3 weeks to use communication and cognition to actually start to take action towards stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart, with a focus on Mercury's archetypal energies: cognition, communication, transactions, contracts. The sun comes in on the 18th. The new moon occurs on February the 27th, kickstarting a month all the way to March 29th of action in the Pisces part of the chart. And yes, during that time, Venus and Mercury both go retrograde, but during March, they will still be in Aries. Mercury and Venus both enter into Pisces at the end of March, and in April, even though we have the month of Aries, we're going to, for much of April, be tying up the loose ends, finalizing whatever we can do to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart in the first 4 months of this year, so that by the time we get to May and June, we are really able to focus on more exciting, forward-moving energies. Questions of what is it that you need to release? What is it that you have wanted to release all the way in 2023 and especially 2024, but we're not able to? What do you need to stabilize? What energy leaks do you need to stabilize so that you can put those things behind you? Where have things been foggy in the Pisces part of the chart so that you can concretely set up a strong foundation and structure for your ambitions? What is the direction that you have felt drawn towards all of 23, all of 24, that you were not able to move towards? As I said, with North Node eclipses, do not get too attached to the outcome. Just follow the breadcrumbs. And between March the 29th and the end of the first week of June, you might realize what all those eclipses have been about. And it might become very, very clear to you as to what the outcome of those, what moving in certain directions has meant. What availing of certain opportunities in the Aries part of the chart has meant. If we've been trying to move forward, a lot of you resonated with the idea of trying to move forward since March, April 2023, and even all the way to August, September, and suddenly being blocked between September, October of 23 to March of 24. Then a certain amount of forward movement from March, April of 24. But still not being able to really move forward. And it's only since the end of November, increasingly, with every week, with every retrograde, with every lunation, releasing a status quo that is stagnant and that has served its purpose and creating the new. Well, here's the next development. And we've talked about February, but especially March and April being the heart of this. What is out there that is new, and Mercury and Venus right now, Mercury after March the 3rd, will be in communication on that, but will not make it past 10 degrees of Aries because they're going to come back into Pisces in April to finish up what we need to. Right now, our opportunity, because Mercury is moving fast, forward moving, and I will talk about that Mercury conjunction with Saturn at the end of this month and his trine with Mars one more time when we do the next weekly video. But right now, the opportunity for the next 3 weeks is to use communication to, you guessed it, stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, whether you are whatever direction, whatever that means to you with regard to either concretizing ambitious plans and setting those plans into structured motion, or setting boundaries and dealing with fogginess around either you or somebody else playing their cards too close to their chest, and kind of all the mayhem that has led to since 2012, but especially 14, 15, and most especially 16, 17. My thanks. There were a few donations that have come through over the past 3 odd weeks or so. So I'm not going to call them out, right? But my sincere thanks to you. There is a thanks button underneath this video. You can use that to contribute to the channel, and information about PayPal, Venmo accounts are also in the description box below, so you can use that. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. When you subscribe, there's a bell icon on the right, and when you hit subscribe, I think it gives you the option to choose the wiggly bell on top, which will notify you whenever I do new videos. If you find my content useful, I will say I've struggled mentally a little bit with this video. The Sun and Mercury are still pretty close together, and whether it's that or whatever it is, but whatever, it is what it is. Every video is different. I just think I need to get this information out there. And the heart of this information, it would really surprise me if it's not relevant. We may have had a break from the Pisces part of the chart over the past 10 days, 2 weeks, but it's a little bit like a deep breath. It's like we swam a couple of laps in January. From February the 2nd, 3rd, 4th till the 14th, it's a bit of a deep breath, and now we really get to dive in the pool. And we're not leaving that pool till the end of April, the Pisces pool. It's a watery sign, and Neptune's there. The pool analogy may not be a bad one. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the wiggly bell option when you subscribe so you're notified when I do new videos. Feel free to tell your friends, anybody who thinks they might find this content useful. Like or comment on this video. Those are free ways how you can support the video on the channel. Likes and comments give the video greater circulation on YouTube, I believe. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Oh, if you're interested in getting a reading from me, my email address is in the description box below. So there are a couple of options there: 30 to 40 minute reading that's around a single topic, or more comprehensive 60 to 75 minute reading. So you can email me in the email address in the description box below. Let me know which country you're writing from, and I can get you the relevant information. Okay. Thanks for your attention and making it through this far. Take care.